Living in Willow Creek Estates seemed perfect when I first moved in 3 years ago. The houses were beautiful, the lawns immaculate, and the community pools sparkled like something out of a magazine. What I didn't realize was that our HOA president, Karen Mitchell, ran this place like her personal kingdom. Karen was in her early 50s, always perfectly coiffed with her signature blonde bob, and had opinions about absolutely everything. She lived 2 doors down from me with her husband Richard, who worked as a financial advisor and barely spoke at HOA meetings except to nod along with whatever Karen said. The trouble started in early May when our neighbor Marcus put up a small rainbow flag in his front garden for Pride Month. It was tasteful, maybe 12 inches tall, tucked beside his roses. Within 24 hours, Karen was at his door with a violation notice. The flag violates subsection 3.4 of our decorative standards. Only American flags and seasonal decorations approved by the board are permitted. Marcus tried to argue that June was Pride Month, making it seasonal, but Karen wasn't having it. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this absolutely wild HOA story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World for more incredible tales of entitled people getting exactly what they deserve. Trust me, this one gets absolutely insane, so stick around because Karen is about to learn a lesson she'll never forget. At the next HOA meeting, Karen made her position crystal clear. We are a family-friendly community with traditional values. I won't have our neighborhood turned into some kind of political statement. My husband Richard and I moved here specifically because this area maintains proper standards. She actually said that with a straight face while Richard sat beside her, scrolling through his phone and occasionally muttering agreement. Marcus wasn't backing down though. He pointed out that several neighbors had political yard signs during the last election, which Karen had allowed. Those were different, Karen snapped. Those represented mainstream American values, not lifestyle choices. The room got uncomfortable fast. Our neighbor Janet tried to mediate, suggesting maybe we could vote on expanding the decoration policy, but Karen shut that down immediately using some obscure procedural rule. That's when I decided to do some research. See, I work in digital marketing, which means I know my way around social media and public records. I started documenting every single decoration violation Karen had ignored when it suited her. The massive Easter display at the Johnsons that stayed up until July. The football flags that flew every Sunday at the Hendersons, technically violating the no sports team displays rule. I compiled everything into a neat little folder. But Karen escalated things the next week. She sent out a neighborhood-wide email about maintaining moral standards and protecting children from inappropriate influences. She even suggested that anyone displaying pride-related items might be added to a neighborhood watch list. That crossed the line for me. I've got resources and connections from my years in tech, and I decided it was time to use them. I hired a private investigator, completely legal and above board. I told him I needed a comprehensive background check on all HOA board members for a potential business venture, which wasn't entirely untrue. What he found was absolute gold. While Karen was ranting about traditional family values and the sanctity of marriage, her husband Richard had quite the digital footprint. The investigator found Richard's profile on multiple dating apps, but here's where it gets interesting. His Grindr profile was particularly active. Username Richard Willow 53, looking for discreet afternoon meets while the wife is at book club. His profile pic was just his torso, but he made the rookie mistake of taking it in their master bathroom, which I recognized from the HOA home tour Karen had forced on everyone last year. I sat on this information for a few days, watching Karen continue her crusade. She actually had Marcus's pride flag removed by threatening daily fines. She sent letters to anyone with rainbow anything visible from the street. She even tried to cancel the community pool's plan to have rainbow pool noodles for the kids' swim lessons in June. That's when I knew it was time to act. I created an anonymous email account and drafted a message to every single household in Willow Creek Estates. The subject line read, "Important information regarding HOA leadership transparency." I attached screenshots of Richard's various dating profiles, highlighting the spectacular hypocrisy of Karen's moral crusade. But I didn't send it yet. I had something better in mind. First, I needed Karen to really commit to her position. At the emergency HOA meeting she called to discuss Pride Month decorations, I stood up with a proposal. Karen, since you feel so strongly about this, why don't we put it to a neighborhood vote? But to make it fair, let's also vote on whether board members and their families should be held to an even higher standard of the traditional values you're promoting. She loved it, thinking she had the neighborhood's support. Absolutely, she proclaimed. Richard and I are proud to be role models for this community. We have nothing to hide and everything to be proud of. Traditional marriage and family values are the backbone of America. Richard wasn't at the meeting, supposedly away on a business trip. According to his Grindr status, though, he was actually online and less than a mile away. The vote was scheduled for the following Friday. Karen spent the week campaigning, going door to door with pamphlets about protecting children and maintaining property values. She even organized a traditional values potluck, where she gave a speech about the importance of honest, traditional marriages. I recorded the whole thing on my phone, especially the part where she said, "Anyone living an alternative lifestyle is welcome to find a different neighborhood that aligns with their choices." Thursday night, the evening before the vote, I executed my plan. But I didn't just send the email to everyone. That would be too simple. Instead, I printed out high-quality copies of Richard's profiles and created a professional-looking report titled HOA Board Member Family Values Assessment. I included his messages to various men, his photo from their bathroom, and most importantly, timestamps showing his activity during times when Karen claimed he was at business meetings or church functions. I didn't distribute these randomly. I hand-delivered them to specific people: Janet, who Karen had publicly humiliated for her daughter being a single mom; the Gwynns, who Karen had tried to find for their Buddhist prayer flags; Marcus, obviously; and about 15 other households who had been victims of Karen's moral superiority over the years. I included a note suggesting they might want to attend tomorrow's vote with this information in hand. Friday arrived, and the community center was packed. Karen stood at the podium, confident and smiling. "Thank you all for coming to defend our community's values," she began. That's when Janet stood up. "Karen, before we vote, I think the neighborhood deserves transparency about the board's commitment to these traditional values you keep mentioning." She held up the report. The room erupted. People were passing around copies, gasping, some trying not to laugh. Karen's face went from confused to pale to bright red as she snatched one of the reports. She read through it, her hands shaking. This is fake. This is slander. Richard would never." But then someone pulled up Grindr on their phone and showed Richard's profile was online at that very moment. Karen tried to maintain control. "This is a violation of privacy. This is illegal." But our neighbor Tom, who happened to be a lawyer, pointed out that everything was publicly available information from public platforms. No laws were broken. No hacking occurred. Just public profiles being shared with the public. Then Marcus stood up with emotion. "I propose that any HOA board member who fails to maintain the traditional family values that this board seeks to enforce must immediately resign." The motion was seconded by 5 people simultaneously. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She looked around the room for support but found only stern faces and barely suppressed smirks. But I wasn't done. I stood up with my own addition. I also motioned that the HOA immediately adopt a non-discrimination policy that prevents any board member from restricting decorations based on political, religious, or social beliefs, as long as they comply with size and safety regulations. The room erupted in applause. Karen's final attempt at control was pathetic. "You can't do this. I've been president for 8 years. This neighborhood needs leadership with moral clarity." That's when her phone rang. She looked at it, and her face went even paler. It was Richard. On speaker accidentally, we could all hear him. "Karen, why are there screenshots of my dating profiles all over the neighborhood Facebook group?" The vote was called. Karen's removal from the board, unanimous except for her own vote. The non-discrimination policy passed overwhelmingly. The requirement for board members to uphold traditional values, mysteriously withdrawn by Karen herself, who seemed to have lost her voice entirely. As the meeting concluded and people filed out, many stopping to pat Marcus on the shoulder or shake my hand, Karen remained frozen at the podium. She was staring at the report in her hands, finally understanding the full scope of what had happened. Her moral crusade hadn't just backfired, it had destroyed her entire power structure. 8 years of ruling Willow Creek Estates with an iron fist, gone in a single evening. The last thing I heard as I left was Karen whispering to herself, still staring at Richard's Grindr profile, "Discreet afternoon meets, while the wife is at book club." The timestamp showed yesterday at 2 p.m. That was exactly when she was at her actual book club, proudly telling everyone about the traditional values vote that would finally clean up the neighborhood. Her face at that moment, realizing that she had been championing traditional marriage while her husband was arranging hookups during her moral purity book club, realizing that her entire reputation was destroyed by her own hypocrisy, realizing that she had just lost everything she'd built over nearly a decade, that face was absolutely priceless. Wow, if you made it this far, you're absolutely amazing. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World for more incredible stories of entitled people meeting their match. Hit the notification bell so you never miss when karma comes calling. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't breaking the rules, it's knowing exactly how to play by them. See you in the next video.